S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. VET S.O.S is brought to you by the Who You Know Network and proud members of the Prairie Deck community. Today, we're sitting down with Steve Pappas, Executive Director of the Leon Halley Brain Wellness Program at UF Florida, or University of Florida Health. Let's try that one. This is an amazing program, having amazing results with our community, and something that I personally have done and can attest to. Just absolutely love this. As always, Keith, I'm here. You're riding shotgun again. I can't even talk anymore. How you doing today? I'll let you talk for a while.
Right now, it's great. Great to be back. And yeah, as always, Sean, it's great to be in the co-pilot seat. Yeah, living the dream as always, brother. How you been?
Oh man, it's been fun. It's definitely been an interesting couple of weeks for me. But we're rocking and rolling, and
There
we're
you
doing what
go.
we got to do, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll jump right into it. We got Mr. Pappas here. Is a healthcare executive with over 20 years experience and proven results leading public and private companies. He was the principal consultant at Metis One LLC, a healthcare consulting firm established in 2012, which commercialized innovative products and technologies in the global healthcare markets. Mr. Pappas is a member of the Health Industry Distribution Association Physician Advisory Council, driving industry transformations as well as supporting legislative initiatives on Capitol Hill. Furthermore, he's co-founded the Emmanuel Project of Northeast Florida in 2022, a U.S.-based 501c3 providing free medical services to the homeless, utilizing mobile medical clinics. He was also a board member of the Foundation Pierre Smith Modulus, a U.S.-based 501c3 for 6 years to empower and equip residents in northern Haiti towards neighborhood revitalization through relief, development, and reconciliation efforts. As a U.S. Navy veteran, he currently volunteers as a mentor for veteran treatment courts in St. Johns County here in Jacksonville to support veteran participants as they successfully complete their treatment and recovery plans. He's the proud father of 3 daughters, a granddaughter, and a grandson.
Yes.
You have had an active life so far, Stephen. How you doing today?
You know what? I'm better than I deserve, Sean. I feel like I'm standing amongst giants with you and Keith here. But I appreciate you having me on your show today, and I look forward to the discussion.
That's not really fair. You've seen me in person. You know I'm a giant.
You are a giant. You are. I'm like Thumbelina next to you. Exactly.
Oh, man. So I'm so happy we got you on here. I had the honor of going through the 3-day assessment with your program and was just floored, not only by the staff there and their care, but just the whole program in itself and everything that we looked at. So I can't wait to get into this, and a good friend of the show, Will Gibson went through the program too. And I know he's definitely been a spokesperson for you guys for a little while, and just amazing stuff. So, before we jump into that, though, let's hear a little bit about your transition. How did that go when you transitioned out of the military?
It was interesting. I transitioned in 97. I was stationed in Washington, D.C., and I made the decision to move. My mother had become a professor at UNF, University of North Florida. And on one of my leaves, I came down and I fell in love with St. Augustine. And so when I got out in January of 97, I transitioned right into the University of North Florida. I kept myself busy. I can remember, though, the first week or two, and yes, this was 97, but I can remember going back and getting on the base at Mayport because I just felt out of place when I was walking in the civilian world. I was so used to the structure, and I was up in Washington, D.C., where you're wearing your military gear or a suit, and down here everybody's wearing flip-flops and shorts and t-shirts, and it was quite a transition, but definitely the vibe I needed to get to. But overall, the transition with the support of my family was pretty helpful. And again, I think rolling right into college, and my daughter's going to laugh at this, but joining a fraternity, I kind of gave me that brotherhood and also some good times. But ultimately, college was my mission, and I had a mentor of mine give me the best advice when I was transitioning from the military into college. And he told me to pick an industry. In every paper that I could pick the topic or the industry, choose that industry. And I chose healthcare. And it was great advice. So funny story, my junior year, my professor asked me to write a paper to T. Boone Pickens on any public company What would I buy it for? What would I do to it? How would I flip it? So I picked a local company in Jacksonville, and that paper ended up getting me a job before my senior year at the company.
Nice.
And yeah, so that's how I started off in this healthcare adventure.
That's fantastic, and I, for one, will say that I fully embrace the Jacksonville lifestyle. I will usually be in flip flops when I'm not at
Yes,
work, and
I am right now.
shirt.
Yep.
Yeah, nice fishing shirt, like a Magellan button-up fishing
Yep.
shirt. Nothing better. Whether it's buttoned or not, it depends on the day. So, it's I love the lifestyle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's
But I
fantastic.
will say this,
Um,
Sean, just to add to
yeah,
that, because my poppy had a huge influence in my life. Uh, Both my grandfathers served in World War II. My mom's father stormed Omaha Beach, um, but they were just amazing men. My poppy would tell me, I can remember as a kid, he said, "Life is about transitions, and what you do during those transitions shows your character." So, and that always just weighed on me, which is why I took that transition seriously.
that's fantastic advice. And I completely agree with you. When we started this, it was all about the military transition space, right? And I
Yes, sir.
think over the last 3 years, Keith, we've kind of broadened it, to look at the different life transitions that we go
Sure.
through, and we've even had a Veterans Last Patrol. We've talked about them often. It was a really great episode, and it's really our final transition, if you will. They work with people in hospice, veterans in hospice,
Wow.
and it's just to taking a look at all those things that we go through, and just it's amazing the different resources we have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Um, so I don't want to waste any time.
Yeah,
There's so
you want
much
to
that
jump
goes
into it?
into. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
let's talk about the Leon Haley Brain Wellness
Okay.
Program at the University of Florida Health.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about this. What is this? How did it start?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program at UF Health Jacksonville was really, um, it was the top priority of Leon Haley, the then CEO and Dean of the College of Medicine at UF Health in Jacksonville. And um, he had a partnership with Avalon Action Alliance. So Haley Brain Wellness is part of a larger group. It's the Avalon Action Alliance, which was started by the founders of Home Depot. They had the foresight. They saw warriors coming back uh, from uh, from overseas with these invisible wounds, and they saw the veteran suicide rate going up. So they were on a mission. And at the end of that mission in their research, they had three pillars that they needed to address. And we're one of three. So we're a traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress clinical center. We're that program. Actually modeled after NICO, which is used for active duty. The second pillar is Warrior Path, which is about post-traumatic growth, healing, and it's a peer-to-peer led program. And then the third one is Warrior Heart, which is to treat substance abuse. And they have two locations, one in Texas and one in Virginia. But Sean and Keith, this is personal to me. So over the last 7 years, I've survived two horrible car accidents. The second one, I'm literally a walking miracle. I was ejected from the vehicle, cracked my head open on the street, and then was run over. And I was life flighted. About 30 days after that, and this part is very important because family is so important with recognizing wounds and getting the treatment you need. My middle daughter, Madison, was still living with me. She was going to UNF. And she said, "Dad, something's wrong with you." She's like, "You're repeating yourself all the time. You're usually happy. You're irritable. Dad, you need to get some help." And I'm very, very close with my daughters and my family, but especially my daughters. So I listened to her. And luckily, my primary care doc had heard UF was starting this new program to treat veterans and first responders with traumatic brain injuries. Mind you, this was my second TBI within 3 years. And I was not doing well. I didn't even tell my daughter this, but every time I went from laying down to sitting up, the room would spin violently. And it was a certain type of vertigo, which ultimately the clinic was able to heal. So my doc told me about the Haley Brain Wellness Program. I didn't even hesitate, applied. And what was really interesting, and Sean, you went through the 3-day evaluation. I thought I was going to live like that the rest of my life, and I had accepted it. And after the 3-day evaluation, when they gave me the results, it actually gave me hope that there could be a path to healing. And Kelly, the then executive director of the program, walked me out to my car, and I remember putting her hand on my shoulder saying, "Steve, we can help you." And within about a month and a half, I was in a cohort going through the program. And Sean, Keith, this program changed my life. How the program works, so we have a 3-day evaluation, which is, I call that the hope dealing. We deal hope. It gives you a light at the end of the tunnel. In the 3-week intensive outpatient program, there's core treatment, which would be your traditional neurology, neurophysical therapy, speech language pathology, behavioral health, which includes neuropsych and psychology. And what we do is we wrap around integrative therapies around that, which would include your mindfulness, somatic movement, art therapy, canine therapy, equine therapy, and art therapy. I can't forget to mention the art therapy, because that's the ninja of the program, or at least it was for me, because it really helped me express what it was that was going on inside me. We all experience trauma, and we all deal with it differently. And our clinical team provides, during that 3-week intensive outpatient program, almost 90 hours of individual and group therapy. If you were to try to do this type of program in the traditional healthcare setting, it would take you years to get this type of treatment. What's really good about our program for veterans and first responders is that we remove all financial barriers. We don't care what your discharge status was. It may have been a result of your TBI. Okay. And we also can accept active duty that are transitioning as long as they're within a year of their separation date.
It's fantastic, and I'm glad that you jumped on the art therapy.
Yes.
Because I've heard about the art therapy more than once, and so to sort of outline it, if you apply to this program and get accepted, you go through the 3-day assessment.
Yes, sir.
And at the end of it, they're going to make recommendations, and it's kind of weird when you go through it, because obviously you don't want to be accepted to the next program, because that means that
depends on how much pain you're in. Yes, true.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like I wasn't accepted or recommended to go to the next program, so that's a good thing. It means
That's
my
correct.
brain health is
It is
good.
a very good thing. Yeah.
At the same time, I'm like, well, dang, I kind of wanted to go through the other program, and you're like, it's kind of a weird spot to be in, but it's fantastic, Keith, and I'm telling you, the staff is amazing.
They're
Keith.
second to none, Sean.
Oh yeah.
So we measure our patient-reported outcome measures. It's one's called an NSI, which measures TBI symptoms. Another is PCL5, which measures post-traumatic stress. And our outcomes are the best across the alliance. What I think makes our team so special is they really do care. Like, they care about the veteran, the first responder. And between the core clinical team, there's over 120 years of experience working with veterans, which is, I've never experienced that. I used to run the largest pediatric group in Northeast Florida, about 27 providers, 30,000 patients. I have never seen a clinical team that operates. I mean, I would consider them tier 1 operators of healthcare delivery, without a doubt.
We're talking, Keith, everybody from the staff that works with you and runs you through the tests to the person that works the front counter when you walked in. I mean, it almost felt like concierge service, like always checking on you, making sure it was fantastic. I'm telling you. What do you think, Keith?
I mean, I'm blown away. I admittedly was a little naive to this program prior to this recording, so I like to try to do research and stuff, but this one's kind of taken me by surprise, and it sounds amazing. I'm always wondering, like, how, because veterans especially, and first responders, like, we tend to be stubborn people, and we don't like to admit we might have issues and maybe need some help. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what strategies are you all doing, or that you found effective, as far as advocating for the awareness of TBI and PTSD and all that, and also gaining support within the healthcare system?
No, that's a great question, Keith. We have multiple channels on what we're doing to increase awareness and outreach. Obviously, the podcast. I think this is the fourth podcast that I recorded recently. We're trying to get out there. Obviously, we can go to the VFW and American Legion and what, but there's a certain group of veteran that is not going to those organizations. And through technology platforms and um, podcasts such as yours, or say Joe Rogan or Sean Ryan, you can reach those veterans. So we have a pretty disciplined strategy from a technology and outreach regarding these platforms. We also have recently launched social media platforms such as Facebook and Instagram. That was not an easy thing to do with the institution that we work at, but UF Health has been amazing in supporting our growth. Dr. Leon Haley set the expectation at the beginning, and the leadership at UF Health Jacksonville has just continued to support our program. Our marketing team, Julie Simpson and team, are second to none, and they know how to reach the community and truly have an impact. We're also, Keith, from a engaging the health system, because we've had these amazing, actually, as we speak, we have our neuropsychologist and our medical director out in San Diego at the American Academy of Neurologists presenting a research paper that we're publishing on the outcomes. And it's because we are seeing significant, it's called a Cohen-D. I'm not going to nerd out on you, but it's a statistical measurement of patient improvement in regard to TBI symptoms and post-traumatic stress symptoms. So Avalon Action Alliance is launching a multi-site clinical trial in September of this year so that we can present to the VA and to CMS and to the other payers, listen, our program works. And if you go through our program, these are the results you're going to get, which ultimately will reduce the overall cost of healthcare for our veterans.
I love that.
Yeah. And so you keep talking about the results, which I'm a layman and
Yep.
dumb army guy, got to break it down Barney style. So I
Yeah.
mean, I've had some experience because I've got my own share of some issues, kind of thing. But for the folks out there, like that maybe are considering, like, hey, maybe I do need some of this help. What sort of, I guess in layman terms, like what do results look like for the veterans and first responders?
Great question. So in regard to a TBI, you can have what's called vestibular issues, which is balance. And our neurophysical therapists can improve. I'll give you a perfect example. About 5 months ago, I had a veteran come in with a cane, heavily dependent upon the cane, and had a stutter. And an amazing gentleman. And I can remember meeting him on day one, and then at graduation to see him walk up without the cane and give a speech without a stutter. So that speaks to the speech language pathology as well as the neurophysical therapy. So the results are reduction of symptoms. And what our team does is they give the veteran first responder the tools to be able to manage the symptoms that they're feeling. So for instance, and I use them every day. Okay, I'll say it humbly. Somebody asked me, like, what's a TBI? Well, everybody's got a fuse. If you don't have a TBI, your fuse is about that big. If you have a TBI, it's about that big. So it's recognizing the symptoms and that the feeling of getting into the red, right, which is getting angry, or getting in the blue. What you want to do is you want to stay in the green. And our clinical team does an amazing job at teaching and then implementing those tools into your everyday life.
Yep, that's it. Truly fantastic. And so, if someone wants to participate, first of all, how do they go about trying to do that?
Certainly.
And then, what can they expect during the 3-day? The word escaped me. Now I'm not going to say test. The
The 3-day
3-day.
evaluation.
There you go. Evaluation.
No, so during the 3-day evaluation, it's really 2 days of testing, and we really tailor it based on what the patient is walking in with. But they're really evaluating the neurology component of it. There's a behavioral health. There's a neuropsych battery test. I equate that to taking, the LSAT 3 times in a day. I mean, it's intense. But and Sean, you probably experienced that. But but it really tells you a lot about yourself. Like for me personally,
My head hurt when I went home.
yes, mine did too. I slept so well after that. But for me, I had been really frustrated as a result of my brain injuries that I wasn't as quick and as sharp as I was once before. And through that evaluation, especially with Michelle, our speech language pathologist, she really tested me and showed me that I had the capability. I just needed to stop using the crutch that I was leaning on. And so it really widened my perspective of, as I mentioned before, that my life could be so much better. And it truly is. And the fact that I'm now the director of the program, I have to pinch myself every day. I get to go work. I mean, I have a dream job. I love what I do.
That's awesome. And so also you mentioned, it's a lot of Florida talk. You mentioned you have the program that's in Texas and Virginia. So folks across the country, do they have access to this program? Are there any virtual
Yes.
versions, or do you fly them into locations? How does that all work?
Great question, Keith. So yes, I have somebody flying in on our next cohort from Puerto Rico. We've had a patient
Nice.
come, a veteran that lived in Japan come in. We treat veterans all across the country. Obviously, we want to be good stewards of the grant funds. And we have 100,000 veterans in our backyard in Duval. And that's where I would love to see more veterans come from. But to access the system, all you have to do is Google UF Health Haley Brain Wellness Program. You'll see the apply button. I'm happy to send you guys the actual direct link if you want to put it in the show notes. But it's a very easy access point. The other piece that we have is we have an intake coordinator that will literally work with our VA liaison and get your records if you're with the VA. If you sign an ROI or release of information, she'll actually go do all the work for you. Because we understand how difficult it can be to go capture all those medical records.
That's awesome. All right, so
they try to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah,
I call it. I have an acronym I've used in business for about 20 plus years. It's called ETDBW, easy to do business with, and that's what we want to be, because we understand how difficult, especially if you have a brain injury, how difficult it can be to go do those tasks.
Yeah. So in this network, and I think Keith, you were kind of alluding to this before. We have the Haley program here, Jacksonville at UF Health. Are there other locations doing the same program?
Yes, sir.
Within this network?
Yes, sir. We have 6 in total. Even UNC Chapel Hill. We have the medical college up at Wisconsin. We have it, University of Colorado. That was actually where it all started from. We call that the Marcus Brain Institute. So we have one in Philadelphia, and we are really looking to scale. Gentlemen, the DoD estimates that 20% of all veterans have a traumatic brain injury. And of that 20%, 80% are mild to moderate. That's what we treat. We don't treat the acute, which is, so the patient needs to be 6 months beyond the actual event, but have these persistent symptoms. And trust me, you'll know it. I mean, it's dizziness, tinnitus, short-tempered. It's a whole slew of symptoms, but they're persistent and consistent. Just like I had mentioned, every time I went from laying down to sitting up, the room would spin. And it was horrible, because that meant every morning I woke up, I had a reminder that there was something wrong with me. And I just had to push through that. I rubbed dirt on it and I just go until I went to the clinic, the Haley Brain Wellness Program, and they fixed it.
Wow.
I absolutely love hearing that.
And so also what I'm hearing, so we keep talking about veterans and first responders, but I'm hearing that veterans, first responders that maybe experienced the TBI post service or outside of their
Yes,
service, they still qualify for this program.
100%. It does not have to be combat related. I'll tell you what, I am so lucky that I served in the Navy. Otherwise, I couldn't have gotten this treatment. Down the road in the future, we're looking at opening a civilian concussion clinic because our results are that good. But in the short term, we really want to fight veteran suicide, and we want to address that issue. I don't know if you've heard Doug Collins recently talk about that. That is still a huge issue, and that's our primary focus. But ultimately, down the road, I would say within 1 to 2 years, we'll have a modified civilian clinic so that we can reach the rest of the world with our program.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. And I'm telling you, anybody in the audience, if you've been dealing with any of the TBI stuff, look into this program. I have several friends that have gone through it. So, a couple people that are involved with the show have gone through it. Just an amazing program with amazing results.
Yes,
And
truly.
I think, Stephen, you put it best is you just thought it was part of life, really, at that point. You rubbed some dirt on it and moved
Yeah.
on, and then now you're living a completely different life. It's just
Completely.
fantastic.
Completely. And Sean, you know what? I did this on one other podcast. I'm going to give my personal cell phone number out. If there's a veteran or first responder out there that needs help, give me a call. I talk to many veterans and first responders. My cell phone number is 904-576-0604. Leave me a voicemail. I will call you back, and love to have a conversation and see how we can help.
Love it. Walking the walk and talking the talk.
Yes, that's what it's about.
Yep. I absolutely love it,
Yeah.
Keith.
Well, then that's a great segue because, we're unfortunately at time. It's been an amazing discussion. I learned a ton in this podcast episode. So thank you so much for coming on, Stephen, and for all that this incredibly huge program is doing for our veterans and first responders out there. And so, folks, you heard it here. Normally we ask, Stephen, how can people get in touch with you? So I'll ask the question and allow you to pitch the cell phone number one more time, as well as any other website, URLs, or anything else you'd like to pitch.
Yes, sir. So you can Google UF Health Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program. As I said, I can send you guys the link to put in the show notes. And again, you're more than welcome to call me directly, 904-576-0604. And I'd be happy to help a shipmate, a soldier, a fellow veteran, or first responder, whatever I can do to help.
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
Absolutely. All right, Stephen, thank you so much again for coming on the show. Absolutely amazing stuff. And on behalf of the entire VET S.O.S family, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. VET S.O.S is growing and expanding. You can follow us on all the social media platforms. Make sure to check out all 3 of our shows and to follow and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts from. We're on YouTube, Reach Cross America Radio, The Parade Deck, and all your favorite podcast platforms. And as always, remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.
That's awesome.